But basically, what is Corecast? Corecast is where me and my friends, most likely going to be Cole, could be anybody else, but me and my friends, we sit down, we talk about news. Some of it we
Or not.
understand, some of it we don't, and we'll just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Could be gaming, could be real life, could be politics. Probably not going to be a lot of politics because
Hmm.
I don't like politics, but Cole is political, so probably not going to be a lot of
Politics.
that. Probably not going to be a lot of that, but we will hopefully be able to get a good run out of some of this. I'm sorry for this first episode being so scuffed. We're kind of just throwing stuff around and just kind of figuring stuff out as we go along. But basically,
Mhm.
uh, we're going to start with some topics. I guess it's going to be a little thing of if Cole would like to go first, he can. Otherwise, I will go first. I do not mind. We've got some topics to talk about. We're going to talk about some news, some
Oh,
things going on in the gaming sphere, some world stuff. And basically, we're going to get a teenager's perspective on life because we're both teenagers and we're both idiots.
yes. College.
So Cole,
Canada.
would you like to go first?
Well, first off, maybe we just talk about the fact that, hey, we're here on the Corecast stream and what we are planning to do with our segments in the future. That's something I would like to talk about real quick.
All right, so basically the future plans for Corecast. What is Corecast going to become? Basically, it's going to be the same thing. Me and my friends just talking, having fun. At some point, we're going to get actual transitions and actual layouts for conversations, things like that, segments, focusing on more stuff, and then the end will probably just be us just talking, bringing up some extra points, things like that. Um, we won't go
Hmm.
too in depth with it right now because we don't want
We
to
need to get a
run
soundboard.
go XLR. We don't want to go too in depth about everything, but we want to kind of hint at some stuff. So, um, I guess
Of course, of course.
moving on on to some topics and away from everything else. Um, would you like to go first, or do I just need to
Tetris?
Tetris?
Tetris? Well, on that topic of Tetris, 13-year-old Willis Gibson, aka also known as Blue Scooty, has become the first player to officially beat the original Nintendo version of Tetris by reaching the true kill screen. Now, obviously, I don't know too much about Tetris. I'm not one of those nerds that plays with 3 controllers, 2 with your hands, and 1 for foot. But how about you say something about that, my friends?
Sorry, I have to
Technical
had to
difficulties,
dog
but
sit for a
not
second.
really
My bad,
technical, more
my
like
bad.
physical.
Um, had to have a conversation real quick.
You
So
are
I'm
good.
sorry. It's what you said slipped my mind. What happened? Were you going to Tetris?
Yes, I was talking about good old 13-year-old Willis Gibson, also known as
Blue
Blue Scooty.
Scooty. Yeah, Blue Scooty. So basically what happened, literally right there near the end of December, we're talking almost Christmas. 13-year-old Willis Gibson, also known as Blue Scooty, really good Tetris player. He's been in actually a few like events in the past, I think 2 or 3 years. He's been doing it for a while, despite his young age. Got the first ever true kill screen. What a true kill screen is when you get to the point in older games, such as things like Pac-Man or Tetris in this case, is it gets to the point where the game can no longer handle itself and the code of the game physically crashes the game, which means you can no longer play the game. The example of Pac-Man is when you get to I think about level 256, I think. Half of the screen becomes corrupted and there are not enough white dots on the level for you to be able to actually finish or to finish that level of Pac-Man, thus crashing the game and no longer being able to progress. It's the true kill screen. Blue Scooty, or we're gonna call him
Which I
Will.
will say, man.
Not done yet. Hold on. We're gonna call him Willis from now on. Um,
Okay.
we're gonna call him Willis from now on. Uh, First ever player in the world to reach the true kill screen. Um, there have been simulated kill screens. There have been things like that. There's the original kill screen, which I think is level 29 of Tetris. And the reason it's 29 is because every few levels the game gets faster. We've all played Tetris. Um,
Yeah.
and basically, at level 29, the game gets so fast you cannot move the blocks to the side of the screen fast enough before they get to the ground. Um, people have found techniques and button mashing techniques to get around this, but for a long time, 29 was a record, and I think just over the past few years, it's gotten higher and higher as people have developed better button mashing skills. Um, but that was the original kill screen. Was the point where the game got so fast you just couldn't go faster. But he's actually crashed the game and managed to find the true kill screen. So that is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And I will say two things on this matter. First of all, I will say, is this kid just not the advertisement for the true power of autism? And two, these kids now these days scare me. Because sometimes I watch these kids who are, half my age, even like 10 years old or lower, and they just play these games I used to play, either doing this weird techie bullshit or just making it an utter mess of how they play it, but is efficient. Or sometimes I see them and it looks like a 2-year-old trying to do rocket science and not fun. But in this case, with 13-year-old Willis here, utterly impressive.
It is utterly impressive. Sorry if my microphone has gotten a little quieter. I'm trying to make sure there's no echo bleeding through. Um, so yeah, Willis,
Because I mean,
phenomenal.
heck, just look at like Fortnite or something, where you see these kids do these like gigantic spin shots. They jump off like 300 feet from there, stuff like that. Where it's just these young brains being put into such a unique era of gaming, and you see how they develop. It's just crazy to see what they can do.
Yeah. So I guess
Like,
next topic. Well, actually, we're not quite done with Willis.
go.
He was uh like everybody said that like despite his age, he was a great contestant, like a great person to play against in these tournaments, like or events. They would go to these events, he would show up, and like he was a really good loser. Like if he was beaten by somebody, he wasn't a piece of shit. He wasn't a kid crying about it. He was a good dude, and everyone is like really happy for this guy because they were like, if anybody deserved it, it's this kid who's always he practiced for like 3 or 5 hours a day every day. Uh, he's respected in the community for the most part, despite his age and things like that. And like everybody was saying, everyone's happy for him. So this kid, round of applause for this kid.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I'm just looking at photos of Willis here, and I mean, he just has a young, pure soul. Heck, you just see it in his eyes. I mean, he looks genuinely
Yeah,
he's stoked about the fact that he got this. I mean, monumentous record. He's the first of anyone in the world to do this, unless somebody in their back cut not being recorded did it somehow. I don't know when they're bored. I don't know. Maybe a good old what's his name? Oh, why can't I remember his name? I'm just gonna say Jihadi. Let's just say a man who did certain things around the date of 9 and 11. I just like to think he was sitting in a cave somewhere, and he actually got this before Willis here. He seems autistic enough. But back to what I was saying,
why do you
but
gotta
this
loop
kid, I mean, he
every?
does look like a
Why do you gotta
genuine
loop
kid. I see some of
everything?
his reaction images, just some of the things he's done, and the kid's stoked. To
Yeah,
9/11,
yeah. Why you gotta loop everything
never
to
forget, man.
9/11 or autism?
Never
One of
forget.
the two. It's 9/11 or autism. Next topic. There is a
You
flash
see,
cart.
they are
Stop it.
uniquely related.
We're moving on. The MIG Switch Flash Cart. So for those of you guys who don't know what a MIG or not the MIG Switch, for what a flash cart is, you've
Yeah, I don't
obviously
know.
never homebrewed a 3DS or a DS before. A flash cart is something that you would do to load your backups of games. Me and Cole, we've played emulations for games that we own
Yeah.
100% legitimately. We own the games. We just play them on our computer because they're
Hmm.
backups. Um, flash carts would essentially
Yes,
take
I would
those.
never do a crime.
Flash carts essentially takes those backups of games and they put it on a cart. And once you've homebrewed one of your devices, being like a 3DS or a DS, probably a 3DS, you would take that. It's like an
Hmm.
SD card or whatever. Maybe it's in an actual cartridge, like one I definitely don't have in my desk. That Cole has definitely never seen before. Basically, they take the cartridge and it lets you play whatever games you want, as long as you legally own them.
Yes, sir.
We have to
Because
say that
piracy is a crime. You
piracy
wouldn't
is a
steal a car.
crime. We would never ever steal a game.
Con-
But
condone and or influence the idea.
Yeah, we would never condone or influence the idea of pirating a game. But basically, what's going on with this MIG Switch? The
Oh,
reason
there's
the reason it's kind of blowing up on Twitter is for two reasons. One, Gary Bowser, I think is his name, Browser, something like that. Gary Bowser, something. Basically
Bowser. Oh
got
yeah, no, the owner.
no, he's not the owner. So
Is he not the owner? He is the CEO though, right? CEO. Where?
um, no, hold on.
We'll sweat the details later.
So Gary is famous in the Flash Cart scene, um, because he was kind of the guy who like started it all. Um, and he may or may not have lost a lawsuit. You're thinking of the wrong person. He may or may not have lost a lawsuit
Mm.
that he has to pay back Nintendo like $40 million. Basically he's gonna be paying back
Oh, here
Nintendo.
he is.
Basically
Okay,
he's gonna be
I
paying
was
back
thinking
Nintendo
something
for the rest of his life. But people are speculating that he's like a shadow advisor in the MIG Switch cart. We still good on audio, by the way? Are you keeping an eye on audio? Um,
I'll check it in just a moment.
but yeah, basically, we're probably gonna redo this episode when I actually have a good connection and we're not experiencing connection issues. Um, just, but we're probably it's not gonna be as long. We'll probably do a beginning segment at the beginning of episode 2. I'm
Oh,
sure.
sorry. I was thinking of Doug Bowser, the new president of the American region of Nintendo. I am sorry.
Yeah, you're yeah. Yeah.
How dare I?
Yeah. So basically, people are speculating Gary's a part of this new Switch cart, Flash cart. He says he's not. He claims he's not. People are also theorizing like maybe he's being framed, so that way like he has more lawsuits with Nintendo. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. He says he's not. So, and there's no info to suggest that he is. So, I'm fairly certain that he's not. Um, would I pick up one of these flash carts when they come out? I think they're in crowdfunding right now. I don't know. They were announced something like that on Twitter. Would I pick one of these up?
Oh,
Uh,
apologies. I'm gonna have to keep talking, but I'm gonna have to take a step back real quick because I'm getting a call.
you're good. Apparently they're supposed to work with the unmodified Switch, which means you don't have to jailbreak or homebrew your Switch. That is an incredibly good selling point because not having to do that allows more people to be able to back up their games and play them legitimately. Um, but it also does encourage piracy. But nobody would ever commit piracy. Why would you ever commit piracy? So
Oh,
would
apologies.
I
I'm back.
you're
Sorry, did I hear piracy?
you're good. So would I
Literally. I mean,
ever
sorry. I do not condone such a thing.
so
Ooh.
would I ever pick one of these carts up to play on my unmodified Switch so I don't have to homebrew my Switch? Not for piracy reasons, of course, because nobody would ever commit piracy. But maybe I'll have to keep a tab on it. I'll have to look at it. We'll all have to. I'm only probably going to be able to play like 4 Switch games on there because I only own, depending on what's all on there, I only own like 4 or 5 Switch games. So I'll only be able to play like 4 of them, but that's fine. Not having
There you
to. I,
go.
I like having physical games, so every now and then. Um, 2024, guys. So for gaming companies, we all know that New Year's means possibly some new like acquirements for game companies and another year towards, for example, the Activision Blizzard acquirement by Microsoft. We all of us PlayStation gamers are totally terrified of what's going to happen to Call of Duty on PlayStation. No, we're not. Call of Duty's slowly falling off. We all know this. But stuff like that. Uh, Not really like any news on like announcements or anything like that. But CD Projekt Red have confirmed basically in a post that they do not have any plans of being acquired or making any deals with any larger company like Sony or Microsoft or anything like that to be acquired as a studio. They even said in a post,
Mm.
like in an official statement, that they have built their company from the ground up for the past few years, and they hope in a few more years they'll be even bigger than they already are. So that's some good news for you CD
And I
Projekt Red
mean,
fans.
these are the same people who came out with Cyberpunk 2077
But
and
also Witcher
The Witcher, if
3,
I'm
yeah,
correct, right?
like the Witcher games, Cyberpunk, a few others. Like this is a big company. We all know that.
Hmm.
So for them to not want to be acquired,
And
big, big news.
well, and my thing about that is I'm perfect good with that because I am somebody who hates the idea of monopolization. I mean, heck, look at Santa Monica Studios. I love Santa Monica Studios, and when they came out with God of War 2018, was a game that hit the scene like no game has for years. But if you look at the whole documentary they did on the making of the God of War 2018, oh my gosh, Sony was literally like a slave driver for them. I mean, granted, they were pretty slack with deadlines, but it was just because there was a lot of creative blocks in the process, and Sony just was so strict on their deadlines, they just wouldn't let them either have the time or the funds for something they knew had that big profit margin, but they just wouldn't give it that attention. So I can understand CD Projekt Red's choice not to be part of a bigger company. Though my only concern to that degree is also the flip side of things, where yes, it gives you, where yes, you have those restraints and stuff, but you also have more resources, funding, and things of such. Because I mean, do look at Cyberpunk 2077. When it came out, dumpster fire. Now it's actually amazing, and I'm happy they came back to it and gave it the 2.0. But nonetheless, something like that where it came out and it was such a dumpster fire, I just do not want that to be a trend that continues because it's been a trend not just amongst Red, but quite a few other companies. But I think as long as they learn from that and already are improving and keep improving, I think they can do just fine on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I think CD Projekt Red will be just fine on their own. The Talking about Sony Santa Monica,
Oh, yeah.
another company is Bungie, because recently Bungie and Sony made a deal where Sony didn't acquire Bungie, but they did like this halvesies thing, under the uh, demands from Sony that if Bungie does not reach a certain profit margin by the end of, I believe, 2024 or third quarter of 2024, something like that, um, Sony will fully acquire Bungie, because Bungie in the
Hmm.
deal made promises to, like, that they want to stay independent, so to just
Hmm.
get funding from Sony and stuff like that, and to stay fully independent, with just some input and like some free crossovers with Sony, that they will reach certain profit margins. And so far, they are actually struggling to reach those
Which,
profit margins, and they've actually laid off a few
um,
employees and stuff like that. So it's possible that
mm,
Bungie could be fully acquired by Sony here by the end of the year. Which, as a Destiny player myself, sorry, dog is dreaming. But as a Destiny player myself, it's a little concerning because I do love Bungie, and Bungie's doing some great stuff, but they are also, with how they're acting and showing stuff, that everybody thought when Bungie separated from Activision for Destiny, that like Activision was the problem and Activision was causing all of these like deadlines and problem and pushes and everything like that. And we're seeing little by little, the longer that they're separated from Activision, that Bungie was actually causing some of their own problems, and it might actually be for the better for Sony to take full control over Bungie because they're not like being lazy, but their work conditions are really fucked up for their
yeah.
employees and stuff like that. And Bungie as the company are kind of doing some stuff. I'll have to look more into it before we actually like really talk to it. Probably might be a segment for next episode.
Yeah.
But
And I will say to the effect of what we're talking about Sony is though like and as I said back to Santa Monica before 2018 because the Santa Monica this was meant to be it was a comeback story because they came off of God of War 3 which is just so hard to stand up to. You know, that's a big idol to go let alone stand equal to or above. And they expected if you're going to bring back Kratos, the God of War, you know, you're going to have to come back big. But I will say, and that's why Sony was very hard on them to a degree, and why they were getting nervous because I feel bad about it because I hate to say Santa Monica, oh yeah, no, you need a baby to be better because you do gotta actually give Sony to some effect in there because think about it, you know they're a very strict Japanese company that is all about what results. You give results, they take care of you because after 2018 hit the scene and it got results. What happened with Ragnarok? it just became even bigger, even greater, even grander. The graphics got better, the engine got better. Everything about Ragnarok was the idol of what it could be. So that's what I'm talking about. Where if you give those results and you show that you are profitable to Sony, they will take care of you. But it's just being on that leash that is a problem for a lot of companies. So that's why, once again, I do not blame Red for not wanting to become part of a bigger company if they're already getting results of their own.
Exactly. So I guess we'll move on to the next one. This is going to be kind of a filler point. Epic Games Store giveaways. So Epic Games, they made Fortnite, but all around they're actually like pretty good company. Their store is actually really good. They do giveaways a lot, like just games. I think most recently they had like, is it a Plague Tale? I think it's called. Was the one that I think expires today or
Well,
tomorrow. I don't
yeah,
entirely.
no, the Plague Tale. I never
Um,
played it, but I need to. It's a pretty interesting, just kind of cinematic story to go through. Yeah.
Yep. So they were giving that away for free because of Christmas time, and they're actually doing another one that I think as soon as the Plague Tale one or whatever it is expires, it the next one starts up. So keep an eye on the Epic Games Store if you're actually curious for free games, and if you have an account, you're eligible. So might as well go pick them up while you have it.
Yeah.
Jump into the next segment. Switch 2, or the sequel to, or the next generation of
Oh hell
Switch.
yeah.
We've all been waiting for it. We've been waiting for years for a Switch Pro or a second Switch, and we got really close with a
Mm-hmm.
Switch OLED. Supposedly, according to a report from someone in the company or someone looking at it, whatever, we have a apparent Switch 2 announcement happening sometime this year. So that means if this is true, we're probably not going to get the Switch 2 for maybe a year, for maybe 2025, 2026, something along those lines. The announcement supposedly is supposed to happen this year. $400 price tag. We all saw that coming. I mean, the Switch started at
Yeah.
$300. The OLED $350. Next jump is $400. I'm glad they didn't jump straight to $450. But hey, it's pretty good. $70 price
Yeah.
tags
I
for
mean,
games following the trend of PlayStation and Xbox. I'm not a fan of this. Not because of like this isn't Nintendo's problem. Just in
yeah. No, I was
general,
about to say something.
this isn't Nintendo's problem. Just in
Agreed.
general, I'm not a fan of $70 price tags for games. Games have been $60 for almost 2 decades now. Since I mean, hell,
Mm-hmm.
the original releases of Sapphire and Ruby on the Game Boy Advance SP were $60, I think. When they first came out. Like,
I don't know about that.
no, they were $50, $60, something like that. Because I know the original Game Boy
Really?
games were
Huh.
$40. I know that because my brother bought the original Game Boy games for $40. Ruby and Sapphire, I'm 90% sure were $60 games.
How about that?
Most of the games, new games that came out on PS3, $60 games. Most of the games that came out on PS4, $60 games. PS2 games varied in price from a lot, but your headline games like Final Fantasy, Devil May Cry, God of War, your big headliners for
Oh
the
yeah.
PS2, $60 games. These are your big games. That's okay. We can all justify $60 because it's been the standard price for years. And then
Standard.
Activision comes out with Modern Warfare 2, PS5, $70 price tag. God of War, Ragnarok releases with a $60 price tag if you're on PS4, $70 price tag on PS5. But they didn't even do the
It's
free
fine.
upgrade, which I love Santa Monica Studios, but they did $60 price tag on
Mm-hmm.
PS4, and then to get the PS5 upgrade, you got to spend $10 to get the 70 price total. Makes sense. Some games did that. MK11, though, at the time, same time, or before Ragnarok came out, free upgrade for MK11. Who the fuck was playing MK11 on PS5? Not really a lot of people, I'm just saying. But nobody had a
Oh,
PS5 to play
and if you don't mind
MK11
me
on, you know what I mean?
interjecting for a sec,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
hell yeah. If you don't interjecting for a sec, too, and this is what is increasing, especially within like Steam. This is what is increasing the appeal of of things that aren't AAA titles. Because I mean, I remember I will pay like $15 for Cold Land, which is usually 30. I'm not going to complain too much. 30 actually ain't bad for how good the game is, but nonetheless, you play certain indie games that are half the price or less, and honestly, sometimes are just as enjoyable or just as much of a time consumer as
Or
a
better
lot of these
even.
AAA games that, yes, they have all these amazing cinematics and graphics and stuff like that. I get that. But at the end of the day, what I care about is what I enjoy and how I enjoy these games. And this is where just the indie league is just kind of running and almost dashing past a lot of AAA titles just because the prices are increasing, the demands of what you need, either on your computer specs or even with your own consoles, the demand for what you genuinely need on those to fit the space, to fit the actual um, graphics qualifications for certain things if you're playing on PC. It's just these standards are going up and it's making you just have to pay more and more and more. So truthfully, as good as things look, and I get, oh, you want things to look just like real life and look just so beautiful and cinematic. At the end of the day, what I'm looking for is enjoyment and things going over the topics and stories in which I am interested in. And if you can't do that while within a simple platform or mainframe or frame of ways to do it, then I'm not going to pay $70 just to have something that's supposedly special and better than indie because we're AAA. We own the industry. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'll stop there for a second. I'll let you get back to what you're rattling on, though.
yeah, you're
I
cool.
rattled for a sec. You go.
So yeah, $70 games. Not a fan, especially on the Switch. It's supposed to be a strong, or well, this Switch 2. It's supposed to be a better console, better graphics. We've all heard the complaints about the graphics on stuff like Pokemon Shield, and the performance issues. Like obviously the infamous tree graphic on fucking Pokemon Shield. Not a big deal to me. I don't mind necessarily. Um, but because let's be honest, Pokemon Shield, the graphics were fine. They were 3DS graphics just upresed.
Mm.
That's fine. No big deal to me. A lot of people got upset about it though. The point where I kind of do start to agree with performance stuff is stuff like Legends Arceus, where in some of the more
Oh yeah.
graphically intensive areas or moments of the game, performance tends to dip a little bit, and it's gotten even worse from what I've
Oh
heard
yeah.
in
No.
Scarlet and Violet. Haven't played through the game
Yeah.
yet.
Look at Scarlet Violet. When it first came out, it was glitchy, glitchy, glitchy. Don't even get me started on like all the models. Like it's
Yeah,
kind of fixed up now, but ooh.
yeah, and still. So I understand the performance complaint. Maybe not back as far as like Sword and
Mm-hmm.
Shield, but definitely now I do understand. What will it take away for the games from me? Not personally. I can look past it. I grew up in the era of like 30 FPS or like a shitty computer that could only run at like 15 FPS. It won't bother me any. But it will bother some people, so I do understand. Um, but I think that's all we really need to talk about this Super Switch or Switch 2. We don't even know the name of it, and we don't even know if this is
Well,
real either, but
yeah.
I don't.
Well, one thing I will, I'm curious. Do you think they're literally just going to name it Switch 2, or do you think they're going to have some
I
like,
don't know. I don't know.
hell, Super Switch? That makes sense, honestly.
I don't know, but they're gonna
Well,
definitely
actually,
keep
and
the
something
Switch
else I
name in
will
it.
say specifically towards the Switch, and I'm sure people will complain about this because oh, that's a dog shit opinion. But my thing is with the Switch, with the kinds of games you normally will play, that especially if it's directly made by Nintendo, I don't understand the $70 price the price tag on a lot of games. Well, and the problem is that they know you're going to buy it regardless. That's why they
Yeah.
wouldn't decrease the price. But like, look at some of the games they have on there, and I'm just going to start with a very well known one, obviously Pokemon Sword and Shield. Obviously, it's not like some super graphically intensive game or anything like that.
And
Yeah,
yet
it's, as you said,
it's
updated pretty
still set
much 3DS
records. Like
graphics,
it's still set on. Everyone was
and it's
looking
set
at.
records.
Yeah, like for like the previews we got and stuff like that before the game even came out, everyone was complaining about, oh, the game looks like shit, oh, the blah, 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 all the problems. And then the game comes out and it set fucking records for Pokemon history, the greatest
Set
selling
records.
franchise of all time, one of the greatest selling franchises of all time. And it set records in that
Hmm.
franchise the day it came out. It sold like 60 million copies day it came out, I think. Something
But
along
my
those lines.
problem is what's its price tag? It was $60, and I'm like, well, don't get me wrong, I get it's a Pokemon game of the Pokemon series. and they've all been a consistent price. But nonetheless, it's not like it's so graphically intensive or so ball bustingly amazing. It's something. It's a Pokemon series game. It's a series in which you're gonna buy one after the other. So I really don't agree with a lot of Nintendo's price tags on their stuff. I feel like it should probably be a little bit more like hot-hearted and kind of more appealing to the fact that this is a portable game system in which you can have in home, out of home, enjoy for even a little less because it's a console that costs a little less. But no, I know how Nintendo's going to be. They're going to keep the $60 and now $70 price tag, and it's probably not going anywhere. But it's something I think that would appeal to a lot of people. It might even increase their sales just that much more.
Well, and I'm kind of on the opposite side a little bit. I don't mind a $60 price
Really?
tag. Does it suck having to spend $60 on games? Yeah, but something like Pokemon, who we can all agree that while yes, Pokemon has had its ups and downs, and there are certainly worse games in the series, every Pokemon
Oh
game is
yeah.
enjoyable. You can, no matter what game it is, if you're a new fan of the series or an old one, you can sit down and play a Pokemon game and you can have fun with it. Can we not? No matter what game
Hmm.
it is, whether it's
Yeah.
Gen 1. Now, of course, if
Uh,
you've played the games and you go to Gen 1, like the original Red and Blue, and then you make your way to Fire Red and Leaf Green, you're never going to go back to Red and Blue unless it's for nostalgia reasons. You're never going to go back to Red and Blue. You're going to play Fire Red Leaf Green because it's just better. It's just a better game to play. Same thing, especially now using the examples of Shining Pearl or Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Well, yeah, they're
oh yeah, I
they're
need to get back in
good,
this.
they're fun. They're not the best. You want the best Gen 4 experience, you go and play Platinum. We all know that. But I have a
Yeah.
uh, I have a friend who's not first ever Pokemon game, but first ever experience with Gen 4 was Shining Pearl. And he loved it. He loved Shining Pearl. He loved that it was actually difficult because Shining Pearl was actually Shining Pearl, Brilliant Diamond, hella difficult Pokemon games, can we say, especially near the Elite Four. Cynthia's team in the Elite Four
Hmm.
is fucking insane in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Their EVs and like
Garchomp, I'm
they're
looking at
they're
you.
no like specifically Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. They're competitive teams. They are set to competitive level
Oh yeah.
teams. They are incredibly difficult. It's incredibly fun if you like that, but in hella difficult games. And hell, even looking at the worst
Mm.
games in the
Don't even get me
franchise,
started on the Nuzlocke potential.
like even including the more difficult games in the franchise, or not difficult, more unenjoyable games in the franchise, like Sun and Moon. And if you go
Hmm.
back and play that generation, you're playing Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, because Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are just better. But
Yeah.
the original Sun and Moon still were fun for a lot of people. Uh, so my deal with the price tag is, get what you pay for. If I pay $60, I want $60 of fun, and for Pokemon games, I usually get $60 of fun, no matter what game it is. Um, so I mean, I enjoy a lot of it.
I,
Uh, Devil May Cry, as a guy who plays Devil May Cry, um, I've never paid $60 for a Devil May Cry game until Devil May Cry 5 came out. But I would pay for this is where my controversial opinion comes in. For the reboot of Devil May Cry, Cole can't speak on this because he hasn't
oh.
played any. For the reboot of Devil May Cry before Devil May Cry 5 came out, I loved that
Hmm.
fucking game so goddamn much. That was the thing that got me into Devil May Cry. But everybody fucking hates it. Everybody hates that fucking game. I paid maybe $25 for that game at GameStop, pre-owned, no DLC, $25. Um, and I would have paid $60 for it, brand fucking new out for the base game, not even the definitive edition that fixed a lot of problems that people had. I would have paid $60 for that fucking game out of the fucking box, because of how much I love that game. Now I haven't gone back to it. I've recently bought the definitive edition on PS4. Well, my PS5, but the PS4 version. So I'm gonna go back to that game soon and see if my opinion still holds up. But I would have paid $60 for that game. Enjoyment price comes to enjoyment for me. So if I enjoy a game, I'm perfectly happy spending $60 on it. If I get it for cheaper, even
Fair
better.
enough. Kind
Um,
of like what I was saying.
with the example of what just happened recently, I bought my first ever. Not first ever. I bought a game for a second time that I still own. So like when I was a kid, I would trade in games a lot. Because that's kind of what people did. You trade in games because you wanted another game. Um, so I've rebought some games digitally that I used to have. Final Fantasy 16. I fucking love that game so goddamn much. I bought a brand new copy, still in box, still in the plastic wrap to this day. Just the other day, I like 2 weeks ago, I bought a fucking copy of Final Fantasy 16. Still haven't. It's still in the plastic. It's gonna be my physical like display piece because I love that game so much, and I paid another fucking. Well, to be fair, it was on sale. It was 40
to be
bucks.
to be
Um,
fair.
to be fair, it was 40 bucks. It was on sale, but I would have paid the 70 for it if I had the 70 to pay for it. You know what I mean? Um, just because I love that game.
I
So,
guess.
so like, and I don't
I
want to
guess
hear
I could
shit.
make fun of you, but truthfully,
I
I
was about to
damn well
say,
know. Yeah, Persona.
I
I
was about
know.
to say you don't have a ability to make fun of me. You have bought Persona how many times?
Well,
Yeah,
I can
where?
emulate because I totally used to own Persona 1 and 2. I mean, I still kind of own it. I have the but anyway, Persona 1 and 2, yeah, I've emulate. But the 3 after that, I've bought Persona 4 Golden twice now, once on Steam and once on PlayStation because it's just simpler and they made it released on there. I had Persona 3 on PSP. Don't know where that PSP went. I never played it back then. I wasn't Persona back then. Then I actually just got Persona 3 Reload, Deluxe Edition, Ultimate Deluxe Edition. But and then I also got Persona 5, and then when they made Persona 5 Royal, I got it. Then I got Persona 5 Strikers, and then I just got Persona 5 Tactica as a gift. Also, when I got Persona 5 Strikers, I also got like the Deluxe Edition because I pre-ordered it. I have a problem.
Yeah,
If I could,
so
I'd get the physical stuff too for him, like the steel cases and stuff. Yeah, I would.
yeah,
I
so
would. I
so
wouldn't regret it a
gamers
damn penny.
gamers that enjoy a game or a series will pay full price for those games because they love those games and they enjoy it. So that's what it comes down to me. I enjoy sixty
Yeah.
dollars worth of Pokemon games, so I'll pay $60 worth for Pokemon games. Basically, but we're gonna move on to the next topic before we say any more controversial shit. Probably, I don't know.
Well, okay. Not controversial. Still Pokemon. I'm still thinking about that hunch you had the other day about what's going to be the next, Pokemon re-release or
Oh yeah,
game
so
in general.
basically, if you haven't been keeping up with Pokemon releases, they make remakes every few years, like about 5, 7, 8 years down the line, maybe 10 years, like the Gen 4 remakes. They'll make a remake of a generation, but they've gone in order so far. So Gen 3, we had the Fire Red, Leaf Green, which were remakes of Gen 1. In Gen 4 or 5, one of the two, we had the Soul Silver, and Heart Gold re-releases. Um, Soul Silver was the remake of Silver. Same thing with Heart Gold, remake of Gold. Re-releases, remakes. Um, and then in Gen 4, no, not Gen 4, I'm a dumbass. Gen 6, we had Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which was the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire. Um, and
Mhm.
which for those first three generations are the preferred way to play those games now. If you play the remakes, you probably don't go back, even though Emerald, and Yellow and Crystal all exist for those generations. If you probably play the remakes. If you play those generations, you probably don't play the original generations. Most recently,
Yeah.
we've got Gen 4 remakes in the form of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, which leads me to believe that the next remakes we are going to get, obviously, are going to be Black and White and Black 2, White 2. Now, personally, I think it would be a smart decision not to release Black 2 or Black and White remake and then 10 more years down the line release
And
Black, White and White or Black 2, White 2 remakes 10 years down the line. I think if they just were smart about it and they bundled it all into one game, have like White 2, Black 2 as post game, um, and then because we can with some little changes, let's be honest, Black 2 and White 2
mhm.
could have just been post game for Black and White. With a
Well,
few,
truthfully, you can merge the stories of it without too much issue.
yeah,
Truthfully,
without too much effort,
as someone who's played them avidly.
and for the customization, because I like being able to customize my Pokemon character, I do. So
Mhm.
customization, give us all four of the playable characters. Both the male and the female from Black and White, and male and female from Black and White too.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then just give us different skin color variations, because inclusion's important. legitimately.
Yes.
You like having
And
this.
also body weight. This is something that needs to
No,
be
shut the fuck
added
up.
into Pokemon. Okay, I'm
Shut the
sorry.
fuck
I'm
up.
not.
But
I'll
no,
stop
it's
while
it's
I'm ahead.
nice. It's nice to play as the skin color that you are. If you like to. So obviously give them skin color variations, and then just give us all four, and then let us customize. Maybe not their hairstyles, maybe. But let us customize clothing. I
Hmm.
love being able to customize clothing. You know what I
Oh
mean?
no, I really enjoyed the customization of Sword and Shield. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I just
Yeah.
I played the
Sword.
female character. Don't judge me, but man, I loved making little pretty dresses and stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
but as I was saying
Sword and
about
Shield
Black and White, I would
customization.
be so hyped. And honestly, if they put like $120 price tag on it, I'd still buy it because
Yeah.
Jesus,
Sword and
it's Black
Shield.
and White, man.
Sword and Shield had the best customization so far. Legend Arceus isn't bad, but like Pokemon
Oh,
Scarlet and
it's pretty.
Violet,
It's mainly just the attire, though.
yeah, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the opposite of Legends Arceus, where it's not really the outfits that you're customizing; it's the face, which is still cool. But I would have liked to have more outfit
Mm.
customization. Um,
The outfits were good for what they were, but there definitely wasn't an exact variety where you enjoy it to a mass degree. But I will say that I hope they can have some customization. Because I mean, look with Gen 4, how you were able to customize just about everything besides obviously your character for themselves. But there's so much customization to it, and it's so appealing. And even going into Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it's still appealing. And having the Pokemon follow mechanic,
yeah,
stuff like that, those just little quality of life features make all the difference.
yeah,
And if they could just add a little bit of that kind of stuff in Black and White, and by the way, when Black and White came out and they first were doing all the internet features and stuff, oh,
and I think
if they
graphics
can do
wise,
something to just emulate that feeling.
they should also mimic. And I know this is kind of bad. Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu
Mm,
had the best overworld graphics for the linear Pokemon games, because we've seen both worlds, right? We've seen Sword and Shield, which was a linear
yeah.
Pokemon game, but it had the full, like, it was kind of free cam, not really free cam ish thing, going on. And nobody really liked that, let's be honest. We either want full free cam or we want full static cam, you know what I mean? Um, and then
Yeah.
you had Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, which we all know, the chibis. We don't like them. It's not good. Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu.
Yeah, I
Did
didn't care for the
Let's
GBs.
Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu has the camera in the right spot, and it has the 3D actual proportion models. I think that's the best thing. Now, in terms of gameplay, standard Pokemon. Not Let's Go Eevee Pikachu gameplay. I don't want that. I don't want to fucking flick my Joy-Con to throw a Pokeball. I don't want that. Uh, but like overworld wise, I want Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu.
Mm.
Um, you can talk a little bit
Actually,
more.
if
I'm
you
going to
don't
step
mind me
away for
asking
just a
this
second.
question real quick.
Give me just a second. I'll be right
All right.
back.
Well,
Talk about what you want.
something I'll have you comment on. I'm going to start talking about it, but comment on when you get back. Okay, so something I want to mention is that something that was controversial about Black and White when it first came out was the fact that it was the first Pokemon game, and only to this day, to only have its regional Pokemon presented to you. It was the only one where you could only catch the Pokemon of the Unova region. Well, every other Pokemon game before and after have included all regions, or to a degree of all regions, or a mixture, or mostly they'd use a lot of early gens. But nonetheless, Unova was the only region to do that. Now in Black and White 2, they didn't. I'm curious which they will do. I believe that for the best quality of life, especially for newer players who might have never experienced the original Black and White, I truthfully believe that they should honestly probably do a mix for quality of life. But if they are trying to truly appeal to what Black and White was and just that genuine feeling you had when playing it, especially if this is one of your first Pokemon games, I think they should do what they did with the first game, where yes, it was only regional Pokemon, and that's why Black and White hit so hard. Where it started as controversial, but then people just started loving it more and more and more until hell, it got a sequel. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play with that. Whether they're going to do regional only, or if they're going to be doing the full regions of all.
Yeah.
Yada yada. Pretty much what
Um,
they did with Black and White 2. Oh, hey, you're back. So
yeah.
what do you think about that? Do you think they should do the regional only like they did with Black and White 1, or do you think they should do it as a variety as they did in Black and White 2?
I like having Pokemons from previous gens. But I think the Pokedex should only be Pokemon unique to that region. with a little bit of bleed, of course. But I feel like because you're looking at like content, like they're continents, right? Unova, Johto,
Yeah,
like Sinnoh, stuff like that.
regions and stuff
They're
like
they're
that.
regions, and so a Pokedex should only have that region's Pokemon in it. And in the
Mm,
case of something like Kanto and Johto, where they're literally connected and you can walk from Kanto to Johto because that happens in Gen 2, um, there shouldn't be much bleed unless the exceptions are Gens 1 through 4 because they're all based off Japan.
mm.
So they're all close knit. So they can have some bleed, example of Kanto and Johto, and then you have Hoenn
Yeah,
and
of course.
Sinnoh. Um, and also previous Sinnoh of Hisui. But like, so that obviously they can have some bleed because they're on the same area of the planet. But then you jump to like Unova.
Mm,
Unova shouldn't have many crossover stuff. It can have a few,
yeah,
like
because it's only based on the best country in the world.
so like you shouldn't in like look at it as something like Australia and the U.S. Like the spiders that they have in Australia. What the fuck?
Man,
But there's no trace of them for the most part in the U.S. Should be the same thing with Pokemon.
and I ain't gonna lie.
People,
Something I enjoyed Black and White so much because it's actually the only Pokemon game where it's only regional. Because it's such a new variety where you're not going to go into a bush and just think, oh, it might be a Bidoof. You're going to go to a bush when you first enter this game. You're going to go to a bush every time. You're going to be like, oh, because it could be something new. Because it is entirely a region of its own and not just interconnected with like the first four gens. Not that there's a problem with the first four gens because it makes sense, and obviously it's early in the series. What are you going to do? Just make 300 more Pokemon per thing?
yeah.
But
Um,
with Unova, it just felt so unique, and I loved it.
I feel like
And also had
every,
Joltik,
I feel
and the
like
fact that
maybe,
Joltik came from that
yeah.
generation makes it the best.
I feel like maybe
Love Joltik.
some there should be like a span of like maybe 2 or 3 gens that like uh their Pokemon are connected, and then when you get to like, for example, the first 4 gens, right, connected area, and then Unova, entirely different Pokedex, like region based, and then since Unova is kind of based off the U.S., Hisui or not Hisui, fuck, Alola, is based off Hawaii, so still U.S. So there can be some bleed there, but there should be a little bit more Pokemon, like a little bit new Pokemon. Same thing that Johto did to
Now,
Kanto.
granted, there's obviously
Um,
regional forms, and I love regional forms. I think, though, don't get me started on Mr. Mime, but regional forms are actually some of my favorite parts of Pokemon because
yeah,
I just love the idea because it's just like real life with species of things and stuff. Yeah, there's different versions. Like, yeah, there's not just one badger. There's
yeah,
different types of badgers,
yeah.
but it's
Regional
still the
forms,
same base, and I love that.
yeah, regional forms are fine too, and so I think like it should span some stuff, and obviously there's been some
Mm,
bleed between uh with using Legends Arceus, you're in Hisui, which is or previous version of Sinnoh, right? Uh, and then you have the guy. I don't know his name because I've never played Gen 5. I have to get to Gen 5. I'm playing through the games right now. Don't judge me. Um,
mm.
you have the guy from Gen 5 who, like, I guess in the story he like he has amnesia, but he was pulled back in time with you or something. Um, but he comes from Unova.
Oh yeah, the train guy.
Yeah, he comes from
His name, I
Unova,
feel bad.
um, but he's in Hisui, which is Sinnoh. So there's obviously some bleed there, but like
Yeah.
it's most of, and that's what I love about Hisui too, is that all the Hisuian Pokemon, or Hisuian is how you say that name. Sorry, Hisuian Pokemon are just, you can see the evolution line from what these Pokemon are now to what they become in the future, and that's cool. So maybe some like Legends games would be cool too in the Pokemon series. Um,
Mm.
Personally, I would like to see.
Oh my god, what?
Oh,
Imagine that, like a Legends Arceus version, but American based.
yeah, the
Or sorry,
Legend Unovan based.
Unova.
Yeah. Um, or Alolan, Unova or Alolan, Alolan.
Mm.
You know.
Okay, I will say, okay, there's two things I'm going to be looking for mainly with the Black and White remakes because this was the two things that put Black and White above all the before gens below before it: the music and the graphics. because or just in general the art style. I still remember just how many times, even as a little kid, going through areas of black and white, hearing the music, looking at the graphics while I'm going over this gigantic bridge over the water, or while I'm looking at Rusharam or Zekrom, these giant fuck all dragons on the screen, is just thinking, wow, this is amazing. I feel immersed and I love this. If they can even get close to what they did with black and white originally with music and just the artistical design, I'm buying. I will pre-order it. I will buy it immediately. Hell, if there's deluxe, I'm getting it.
And also, on this topic, possible series in the future of me and Cole nuzlocking, or at least playing through previous games. What do you think? But I think we've talked enough Pokemon for now. We've been talking about
Of course, just
we've been
move on.
talking about Pokemon for almost 20 minutes. Just want to point that out there. We've only been recording for or well streaming for about an hour, so good little bit. Um, Move as well, kind of
Feels
still in the
longer than
same
that.
still in
Hmm.
the same vein.
Time just flies.
Uh, Anya Neo. So Anya Neo are people know about them. They're kind of an under the radar company, but I like some of the stuff they make. They make these like retro style
Mhm.
gaming consoles to play like I think one of the examples, I don't know if it's them or not, but I saw a company that made a like um fuck what's the word? Basically it would let you play some of the old like Sega Saturn games and like Sega Genesis games. Um but it was an updated thing, so like it had like proper upscaling when you put in a game. It had HDMI ports so you could connect it to newer TVs. Anya Neo basically makes these consoles that can play older games, but better. You know, like they feel they're modernized retro stuff. Really cool company. Um, they are soon they are sending a new handheld console to crowdfunding, which I'm actually gonna keep an eye on because this looks really cool.
Mhm.
Called the Anya Neo Flip. It's basically a DS. Basically a 3DS. It's got a
I like
It's
it.
got one 7-inch. It's called the Anya Neo Flip DS dual screen. You know, because that's not actually trademarked by
Mhm.
the Nintendo DS is trademarked. The term DS for dual screen is not trademarked. So, um, from what I know of,
Yeah.
so the top screen is seven. It's a 7-inch screen with 1080p IPS, which means the IPS is the type of screen that it uses. 1080p, really good. 120 hertz refresh rate. A lot of TVs now can't even do 120 hertz refresh rate, so that's pretty impressive. The bottom screen is a 3.5-inch screen, and then inside the actual uh, gaming console, you have a Ryzen 7 78040U, um, which is a pretty modern CPU. Honestly, I mean, if you have that CPU
Really?
in a gaming computer, you're not like high quality because you know the newest one is like Ryzen 9, but you're not like top tier, but you're pretty. That's pretty average. Like that's I would put that in a gaming computer. Like if I were to build a computer that was kind of on a budget, but I still
Ah, yeah.
wanted to be good, I would put that in a computer. They've got an
Oh.
M.2, I think 8. They've got the same kind of SSD in there that I have in my PlayStation 5 as an extended storage. So that's a really good storage. They've got some other specs. It's supposed to be like a really good, and it's supposed to like pretty much emulate DS and 3DS games from what I know of. And with those specs that I've seen, it can do
Oh.
it. It can do it really well, and it's a handheld console to emulate games. So that takes emulation up
Oh.
another step, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on this thing personally. They have two.
This is the
They,
first time here. I'm gonna keep an eye on this.
they have two consoles. They have the dual screen and they have the keyboard version of it. I don't know if it's an attachment that goes on it, but it basically covers the bottom screen. It's a keyboard. I'm gonna be watching the dual screen one. Let's be honest. Um, I'm
Yeah.
hearing my rain picking up now.
You
But
know how
yeah,
many times lately I've been. You know how many times now I've been like wanting to play on my DS and stuff like that because I don't have it anymore. I just like amount of times I was like, man, this sucks, and then just even if you try to buy a new one, buy the games, it's such an expensive process, and oh, that would be so cool because I just can imagine that feeling I would have just playing late night, just playing like Pokemon or
yeah,
something on the DS.
and
That would
these
feel so
screens,
good.
a 1080p screen, that's hella good. Um, 120 for its like this is I'm keeping an eye on this, and it's going to crowdfunding supposedly this month or within these next few months. So as soon as I see that go to crowdfunding, I will let you know, Cole, and it'll probably come back up on Corecast
Hell yeah.
because we're gonna keep an eye on this because we both really like this console. So that's all I got on that though, and that's all of the talking points I brought today. So Cole, do you have anything you would like to talk about?
Uh, Random topic. So lately, there's been multiple 7.5 or near magnitude earthquakes within Japan, killing many. I'm not going to go too in depth about the disastrous part of it, but still, my heart goes out to them. I mean,
Yep.
especially with just how amazing Japan has been within recent decades of just world history and the revelations they made. They're amazing people and amazing country, so heart goes out to them. But something I will say about that, it's just interesting watching those little cultural perspectives because you even hear from people like my dad is that they're so adapted to the earthquakes and stuff. They all have like an automatic system. He's talking about how he was playing like bingo or something in a big hall one time, and he had just a little earthquake came by, and it only lasted for like just maybe 15, 30 seconds. And after it stopped, my dad and his friend were all hazed. Oh, what the hell? They're looking around. They're still standing. And then they just looked down, and literally every single one of the citizens, people who live there, are under the desk. All kind of have things arranged in a way so it wouldn't be damaged. I mean, they have an automatic system. So seeing even just how they're so adapted to such a thing, I'm sure Japan's going to bounce back quicker
Yeah.
than ever. I mean, they're
Um
industrial people.
I mean,
That's for
yeah,
sure.
it sucks that what's going on over there and stuff like that, and like they're gonna come back from it, obviously, because Japan is just amazing like that. But yeah, just going on, I just hate it. Especially because
What
like,
I love about Japan, though, is
yeah,
their construction's different from ours, where they say they're going to have a construction project or on something or do repairs and they get it done. They don't do the whole like 6 month process of getting
yeah,
nothing out.
they just
Like
that's
hell, I mean, perfect example. Look at Brahms, just on our
yeah,
main street down here.
yeah. We in our
They've been
town,
under construction for light renovation for how long now?
yeah, we have a Brahms in our town, which if you don't know, that's a ice cream food place. I don't really get ice cream from there
Ice
anymore,
cream
but
and burgers.
yeah, scrum burger. I don't know if they're in many other places, but they're here. They've been undergoing light renovation for weeks now. And that's also kind of strange for our town because when I worked at
For
Popeyes,
months.
for months, yeah, when I worked at Popeyes, we went down for big renovation. Like the entire interior was getting redesigned, repainted, retiled, things like that. The outside's been repainted too, by the way. Last time I was there. But when I worked there, we were only gone for 2 weeks. We only got 2 weeks off, and then we were back with the whole new renovations back up, new tables, new walls, new tiles, new ceiling, like entirely. It was just the lobby. It wasn't the actual kitchen and stuff like that. It was just the lobby. But still, that's all. We only took 2 weeks to get our shit done, and then yeah, it's insane. But yeah, Japan will.
Literally, it's the construction started about like a month or two before I went off to college. An entire semester goes by, which is like 2, 3 months. I get back now for almost a month or so, still under construction. That's like 5 or 6 months,
Yeah,
and like they get a lot of business, so they need to be. It's like I don't know why they're taking so long.
yeah, and
Like
let it be.
next time I go in there, once they're up and going, which they're about to be, I better have one of those like Japanese restaurant like Nico robot things delivering me my ice cream
uh,
on a tray covered in gold.
yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what's been going on. Nothing really. I mean, is anything else to talk about? I don't want to. I want to segue you in if
I
you got
mean, hell,
anything.
I'm fine with leaving it there. I mean, I would love to ramble and all, but I think we'll just do that in our own conversations, and
Yeah.
we'll save
So hopefully,
more
uh,
important topics for next episode.
so I'm probably gonna go back and watch this stream, and hopefully the VOD is at the very least the audio is all right for the VOD. Um, If not, we'll bring up these points back in the next episode when my connection isn't being bad and the connection isn't a problem. We'll just kind of run down them really quickly, maybe skip a few. But this has been the first episode of Corecast. I'm your host, Vance. This is my co host, Cole. And we are probably done for the day. You can check out our handles. We've got them all on screen. My YouTube and Twitch are the same thing, the_panda_core. And we've got Psy or Psy
Mm.
right there on screen. You can always tune in for Corecast whenever we decide to record it. I don't know if we're going to make Thursdays Corecast Day or what, but whenever we decide to record it. We may or may not also start streaming some extra stuff, little things here and there. I mean, you can check out the YouTube, you can check out the Twitch, be watching my
Oh, yeah.
YouTube because something might be coming soon, maybe. Um, and I
Yeah,
guess,
hell yeah. Well, I want to get, I want to finally get actually committed to one of our series. I want to either, whether it's our platinuming, our locks, or whatever it may be, I want to get committed to something because we
yeah, we've got
are
problems.
bad.
Yeah, we're bad about it. But um, I don't know.
You know
I'm
what? Honestly, that's what I want our task to be as I go into this next semester because I think that will genuinely be kind of a hobby for me. That'll keep my brain braining.
entertained. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about. I just got a 3DS emulator set up and stuff like that with my copies of Pokemon Y and Ultra Sun, and that's how you know I actually own them because who the fuck would play Pokemon Y over X and Ultra Sun over Ultra Moon? Totally.
You know what I really want to get back
Um,
to? More this I don't know if I'd stream this, but at least personally is I want to get back to our little fusions lock because I was enjoying that, especially
yeah,
now that there's almost don't they almost got the entire like Pokédex completed with the fusions?
I think so. I'm not entirely sure, but I need my computer to run that
Yeah.
game better before I even think about streaming it. Because well, if they fix the alternate
Has it been
launcher,
any interest?
um, if they fixed the alternate launcher to where the loading times for me aren't as long between rooms, I'm more than happy to record or go back to that. It's just that's the problem. But we do have the means to play some games, and I'll set up some recordings, and we can record our way through the games. I'd be down to do that if Cole is too. At least make our way up until the
Oh yeah,
3DS
I'm down.
era. I don't know how well my computer with OBS running will be able to handle the 3DS era of games, but maybe once school starts back up and I get some grant money, maybe I'll be getting a better computer because I'll be building a gaming PC. Who knows? But I mean, I'd be down. If Cole's down, we'll make it
I
happen.
need to
So
get me an OBS set up. I need to get set up with OBS and everything. Actually, start streaming from my own side on computer.
yeah, just in case something goes wrong on
I
my end,
want
so
to.
just in case something goes wrong on my end, so we still have stuff.
Well, it's not even just that because I want to too. Because
Yeah.
um,
Um, but
I mainly do all the PlayStation stuff. Yeah, whatever.
yeah, so
That's all I got, honestly.
that's all I got to talk about. This is probably gonna we're probably gonna try to do this weekly, at least bi-weekly at the least, because
I'd like to.
I want to get at least 2 episodes out every month. So at least bi-weekly, at most once a week, whenever we each have the time. Don't have a scheduled time for you. That's why if I switch back to the stream starting soon tab, you won't see anything on the schedule because there's nothing. We don't have a schedule yet. So switching back there, you won't see anything. So uh, this has been Vance, and this has been Corecast. Thank you for joining me
This
today,
has been
Cole.
Cole. Mm,
uh, I
Thank
didn't.
you.
I said that because I didn't. I don't know if you're always gonna be my double guest here. I don't know if you're. I don't know if you're just gonna be guest or my permanent co-host. I don't know if we're gonna get. I've got a setup for a third person to be in the call, but I don't know if we're gonna. If it's just gonna be you and me, or if it's gonna be all three
Mm.
of us, or just me sometimes. Because it might just be me talking about some gaming news, some news
I
in
would
real life.
like to at least be.
Present.
I would like to be kind of somewhat of
Hmm.
a co-host or something of that because I think because I do think I could maintain this and keep it going.
Yeah.
I would say.
So yeah, this has been Corecast, where teens talk about shit that they kind of understand and some shit they don't. Stream live on Twitch
Yes,
whenever the
sir.
fuck we get to it. So I guess we're gonna call it there for the night, and
Yes.
I'm gonna have to go back over the VOD and make sure that at the very least the audio's good. So if I wanted to re-upload this to the YouTube, also you should keep an eye out on the YouTube. Um, the audio
Yes,
at
sir.
the very least will be